Cheryl, welcome. I am so glad to have you. It's been so much fun chatting with someone who's so experienced in manufacturing, been doing this for so long, and so passionate about it
Oh,
still.
thank you. I
Man,
do. I love
you have
manufacturing.
not lost your passion
No.
over the years, have you?
Nope. I love it.
Oh my goodness. So I'd love to just kick this off by hearing a little bit about your manufacturing journey. If you could just kind of back things up for me a bit and just kind of tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So, my background is finance. So I started working for a 63-year-old manufacturing company in Downers Grove. And I started part-time. And when I started talking to the engineer, which was the owner, finding out how they were taking something from a piece of paper and an idea and making it into something you can use, I fell in love with it. I was like, I have to know everything about your business. So I started working through the different departments. I spent time in each department learning why they were doing something the way they were doing it and making suggestions to change it. And at that time, they had no like network in place. So they were all using their own Dell computers, their own laptop, the
Oh, I see.
desktops.
So everybody had their own computer and were doing their own jobs, like
Right.
independent of each other?
Correct. Right.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so
What
then
decade was this about?
1990s.
In the 90s. Okay.
Yeah. And so then going through that, technology kind of started stepping up and we got a network and they ended up acquiring Made to Manage, which was an ERP software. And they were using that for a long time. The problem with a lot of the softwares in that was that, like, as we were talking, it's not everything. It's not a holistic program. Like it doesn't cover the accounting. It doesn't cover inventory correctly. It doesn't, there's always little pieces that aren't fully what you need it to be, or you don't understand what you fully need. But so I worked my way through every department, started working full time for them and just loved it. And so when they were second generation owned, they had no succession plan. And my daughter had started working there with us and she came in as like an assistant to the plant manager. So she did the same thing I did because we both thought it was important that to know the business, you needed to understand the business. You couldn't just walk in and start doing things without understanding why they did things. So she kind of did the same thing, fell in love with it like I did. And so we approached the owners and said, we want to buy this company from you when you're ready to retire. And so that's basically what happened. And so we acquired the company and we owned that company for 10 years. The employees came with us. A couple people from retirement came out when they found we bought it. And so then we had our own computer conversion because we didn't.
That was a huge decision.
Oh, yeah. But I loved it. I love just the idea of engineering and the idea of taking somebody's idea and making it come to life and being able to use it. So I just loved it.
So this company, what were you actually making and what was your market?
Yeah, so we were a metal stamping manufacturer
Okay.
and we could stamp anything from automotive, tier 2 automotive, aerospace, electronics. A lot of our stampings were in automotive tier 2. We did appliance stampings for GE. So we're in all the industries, electronics, aerospace, military, packaging. So you could stamp anything. So we buy master coils of steel. We would take a print, build the tool.
So when you talk about a master coil of steel, if someone's not familiar with stamping manufacturing, can you explain to them kind of in layman's terms what this is, what your kind of inputs and outputs are and how you make things?
Sure. So what we do is we would take a print that is designed by the customer for their end product, and we would build a tool and die that would be put into our press. And we would buy master coils. A master coil is maybe 10,000 pounds, 20,000 pounds, depending on what part you're making.
Okay.
And we would have what we needed for width to fit into our window feeder for our press, to fit into the tool to stamp out their product.
Okay.
So that's what we did. So all day long, we would get prints in from customers and we would build the tools and we would come up with the router. And that's the processes that go into making the final product. And that could include even some outside services.
Okay. So there's pressing is one of the labor steps on it. And you could have outside services.
Sure. So like sometimes you have a compound die. A compound die is your one-off piece. So it's making one piece. Boom, boom, boom. Then you'd have progressive dies. So you could have multiple stations. So we have a tool that we stamp parts for that has 29 stations in it. And it comes
29.
out. And it comes out my end piece.
Okay.
But that piece needs to go out to be heat treated. So we don't do heat treating. We don't have furnaces or anything in our plant. So we outsource that to our strategic partners. They heat treat it. It comes back and then gets shipped to the customer. So it could be anything from heat treating as an outside service to plating to painting. It just depends on what the customer needs for their final product.
Okay. Okay. So you'll build the labor into a router and then your outside processing.
Correct. And your bill of materials, your BOMs, people call them. So that's all built in
Okay.
to your ERP system.
I see. And was this all built into the Made to Manage ERP system?
It was. It was. Again, that was like an earlier ERP system because
Yeah.
it was like the 2000s at this point,
Yeah,
late
yeah.
1990s. And so there was not a lot of coordination between modules for accounting, inventory, capturing labor, things like that. So it would work, but it wouldn't. You spent a lot of time at end of month making adjustments to your
Huh.
inventory levels and things like that. So that's what started us on our first journey of finding another ERP system.
I see. I see. So what made you realize that it wasn't doing everything that you needed or that there was something better out there?
So for me, it was on the accounting side. So
Okay.
at the end of the month, you would have to run your inventory reports. The inventory was off, so you were making a lot more of the end of month adjustments than you really needed to make. So my suggestion to them was, well, it's been a while since you've had the software. We should see what technology has out there. Let's start looking at other software. So what I always did was I took my pain point.
Okay.
And so I've learned over the decades of, okay, so I can't just look at my pain point, but at the time I looked at my pain point, which was the accounting side. So from there we found M1, which was another software, and it kind of had the same issue. So, and I think even still today we run into issues with ERP softwares not connecting together the modules. So you can have like a really robust ERP system on quality or on inventory, but it lacks in the accounting, or you have to export it out and it goes to QuickBooks. So, over the years, we've gone through probably 5 or 6 computer conversions with ERP because technology does, improve. And I've learned that you have to talk to all the team players for each department.
Did you know that when you were first looking, when you were in Made to Manage, what were some of the things that maybe some mistakes you made because you just didn't have the experience back then?
Yeah. So the mistake I made back then was I was only looking at my pain point. I wasn't communicating with production. I wasn't communicating with inventory, material handlers, shipping. So for me, it was like I had been through the departments, but my main function was finance there. So I was only looking at that and going, oh, okay, well, this should work because they told me it would work.
I see.
So, when you get your demos, you're dealing with the salesperson, and obviously you're telling them, okay, these are my issues. So they're really laser focused on your issue. So we never really got into, well, does it really work with WIP? Like, is it moving the material
When you say WIP, you mean?
Work in process.
Okay.
So when I have a material handler pulling out of inventory a coil of steel or a sheet or a rod, whether you're machining or whatever you're doing, is it moving that to my work in process? Or am I having to manually make an adjustment for that? When the product is done, and my shipping and receiving person, it's been through quality and they're ready to put it on the shelf or ship it to the customer, is the software working in the background like it's supposed to? So you don't really know that until sometimes after you've bought it. So you kind of run into some of the same issues. But through that process is where I've learned that it's really a team that has to decide on the ERP software, because it's not about one person, it's about every department. And they might have a different perspective on it than I have being in the office.
I see.
So that's kind of where I'm at now, is I've learned that it's not it's really a team, like they say, but it is because they come with an interesting point of view on what they needed to do for them in the plants.
Yeah. So your first selection of an ERP system, your mistake was you simply didn't involve the team as much as
Right.
you should have. And so
And that was terrible.
And that was terrible. All
So-
right. So tell me when you realized that this was terrible. Like
It wasn't
when
long.
was the light bulb experience for you, Cheryl?
That light bulb experience was literally probably 3 months after having it. And it was because of the conversion. So
Yeah.
we were importing. So you had to export out of the made to manage and import it into the M1 software. And through that process, it was terrible. So the routers weren't being pulled in correctly, bill of materials, your length within progressions weren't working correctly, the calculator wasn't calculating material correctly. So at that point it was, okay, we have this software, we've spent the time on it, but if it's not doing what we needed to do, are we going to spend a decade in pain and sorrow? Or are we just going to cut our loss and really now take this team and say, let's go out there and reevaluate and look for something else? And we ended up with Job Boss.
Wow. So you were willing to say, I made a mistake.
Oh yeah, you have to.
And own up to that mistake.
You have to. Because the money you're spending on an ERP system, it's not just the money, it's the time. And if it's not going to do what you need it to do, then what's the point? I mean, you're only going to end up losing in the end financially in the business if you're not going to have something that's doing what you're buying it to do.
I mean, surely you're under a lot of pressure. The other company probably was like, we'll fix it. We'll get it. We'll get it. I mean, were they pushing you pretty hard?
Well, they were, because when you're borrowing money from banks, they want reports that are accurate. And if your software isn't accurate and you're not catching it, and a lot of people don't catch it. Like a lot of people will use an ERP system and they'll know there are problems, but they'll keep using it because either the expense is too much, they don't have the time, the resources, the money to do it. So they'll end up exporting it to Excel spreadsheets and doing what they have to do that way. But then again, you're spending all this money on an ERP system. Don't you want it to work?
Right.
So that's why I was like, no, I stepped right up to the plate. I'm like, I made a huge mistake. Like, this is not working the way we need it to work. And, we need to start looking as a team, because during the process of the implementation, you had your other departments involved in, is the router correct? Is the traveler right? Yeah, that's what goes on your floor, So we had each department, the engineering department, the quality department, the shipping department, the production people looking at it, and they're like, this is nowhere even near what we had. It's not pulling in the correct calculations. So, sometimes in ERP, you put in how many hours it takes to set up. And how many pieces per minute you're stamping, or, how many hours it takes to do machining. So it was not pulling in correctly from our old system to this system. So we spent a lot of time with the ERP software people having to correct it. So it's even more money. And then when you find out it's not calculating correctly, now you have to look at their spreadsheets with them behind the scenes, the calculators, to say, well, why is it off? Why is it not taking the length within progression times the material weight of, say, aluminum or cold rolled? So that was something they had to do behind the scenes that we had no input on. But it would take months to get it right. And it was still not right. So then we ended up just saying, okay, we're just going to put 3% scrap.
Okay.
So any job you run, you're going to say you're going to get 3% scrap off of it. Because you couldn't get it down as close as you needed to be as accurate as you wanted it to be. So, but I will say that Job Boss was way more user friendly.
So before we go to Job Boss, tell me how you ended up selecting Job Boss. What did you do differently the second time around?
So it was meetings with the whole team. So I went to the owners, told them I made a mistake. They were not happy, but they understood why I was coming forward when I did, because I didn't want them to invest even more time and money trying to make it work when we knew it wouldn't work. So I said, but this time we need everybody involved, because their input was so crucial when we were doing the implementation. We need they're skilled in what they're doing. We need that information. So we had a meeting, everybody sat down, and they gave us their pain points for the software, and what they were experiencing with the made to manage and M1. So then we took that information, and when we started looking online for an ERP software, that's what we started. We would type in, what software is good for this?
Okay.
What software is good for these things? And so you kind of narrowed it down. It would give you like 3 or 4. These are the best ones. So then we set up demos, and we had demos done with them with the team. So it wasn't just me.
I see.
And so then after we did the demo, we would have another meeting, and we'd say, okay, what did you think about the demo? What notes did you take? And so from there, we kind of narrowed it down to the Job Boss software.
Do you recall approximately how many systems you may have looked at that time or
Yeah,
considered?
so I want to say we had about 4 or 5. We narrowed it down to 3 for demos,
Okay.
and then we settled on the Job Boss.
And the amount of time that it took you to go through this search process,
Yeah.
how much time did that take? Do you remember?
Well, it was pretty quick this time because I knew that time was of the essence, as was money.
Yeah.
The first time when we were looking, we took our time. That was probably like 6 months of just, okay, you'd think about it, you'd look,
Mm-hmm.
you'd do some research. The second time, it was like probably 45 days. Like we
Okay.
really jammed
You
it in
had
there.
you had 3 demos in
Yeah.
45 days.
Yeah.
And when and you were focused now on the team being participating,
Right.
and and you mentioned pain points.
Yeah. So pain points for me are like, for me, it was the accounting. Accounting wasn't working properly. I
Okay.
shouldn't spend days making journal entries at the end of month. Pain points for them could have been, it's not calculating the material correctly. So when the purchasing person's trying to order a coil of steel, they're getting the correct poundage of steel. Out on the plant floor, it wasn't stamping we weren't getting the correct calculations on how many pieces per minute we were supposed to be getting. So when a job would end,
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to get 20,000 pieces. We ended up with 15,000. Well, how come we only had 15,000 on the counter? Why wasn't this working correctly? So those were the pain points.
I see.
Okay, so then when you're Googling that, that's fine. But when you're having the conversations and setting up the demo,
Yeah.
that's when it became crucial to address all of the pain points so that they knew it wasn't just, oh, my accounting's not working like the first time, or, oh, inventory's not working. So then when we did the demo, each person throughout the demo for their department was able to address their pain point with the team doing the demonstration. So then after we were done with the demonstration, we now were comparing apples to apples. Like, this was my pain point and this is what they addressed, and I think it'll work.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we did it in a very rapid time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And quite honestly, it worked for a very long time. We still had some pain points,
Mm-hmm.
but out of all the softwares that we looked at and the ones that we had, this one worked the best.
Yeah. And this was in the mid 90s at this
Well,
point.
Job Boss now was probably 2010.
Okay.
So Made to Manage went through 2007, and then we had the M1 for a short
period of
of time, and then we got the Job Boss and still have the Job Boss that we use as kind of like a backup, because we're in another software now.
Okay.
Because again, technology.
And so you did this again.
Yeah, so I did it again
Okay.
after I had bought the manufacturing company, probably maybe 3 years into buying it. Job Boss was now 10 years old.
Okay.
And you're always thinking, well, there's got to be something better out there now, because technology's great, right? So that kind of set us down that.
So you weren't afraid of the amount of change that this was going to give your organization?
No, I love change.
Oh my goodness.
I love
I
it.
don't hear that very often in
Yeah.
manufacturing. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are intimidated by
Yeah,
this
no.
degree of change.
Yeah, no, I'm a big proponent of change, because you don't grow if you don't change.
Mm.
If your mindset is stuck on, well, this is the way they've done it forever, so this is the way we're going to do it, then you're not going to go anywhere. So we are in another software. It does work much better. We don't use QuickBooks outside of it.
How early did you involve the team in making this switch?
Immediately. Like,
Okay.
I was like, look, I'm looking at new software. I'm an over communicator with my team. I like them to know everything I know, because that's the way you fix things.
Mm.
So I went to them, I told them I'm having the same pain points. What are your thoughts? And they were like, well, show us what, you have. We'll take a look at it. They looked at it. They were like, okay, yeah, we'll go through some demos. So after we went through the demos this time, the one thing we changed was everybody was on board, and I had one person do the training, and that person created manuals for each department.
when you say one person do the training, do they also become like the administrator of the
Correct.
system?
Correct.
Oh, now that is a big
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
So,
So that person, which was me,
but
did
still,
the training for
yeah.
each department, created manuals for those departments, and then trained those peoples on those departments while they were doing the implementation, so
Okay.
that they would know and they would sign off on the training, and then they would take over their department. So anybody that was within their department, they now had to train.
So ERP was actually a part of a team building experience and
100%.
company culture.
Yeah, 100%. And then everything from that point became that way. And I think it was because they appreciated that as much as I appreciated their input.
Yeah.
So it was like a little turning point, like where, okay, she really does mean it when she says, I can't do it without you. Like, I
Yeah.
can sell, I can have the business, but if you're not making it, if you're not inspecting it, that's true. Like, I have nothing without them. And so I think including them in that process kind of made them feel like they had ownership in it,
Yeah.
and some pride. And there was really, everybody learned it really quickly. I mean, there were some older gentlemen that were like, I don't do computers, and they learned it really quick.
And they learned it too.
Yep. And then grew to appreciate it. So
Yeah, company culture, we struggle with, so many people struggle just to retain employees in
Oh, yeah.
manufacturing. And it's interesting how you took what some people consider their biggest pain point, and that is the change management, the ERP. You actually turned it into a strength and into part of your company culture.
yeah. Well, I think you have to, because if you don't, then people will just feel like you're always telling them, and then are they really part of the team?
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, if you're not going to take their input, and they're the professionals in what they do. I can't set up a press. I can't run a press. So if I'm hiring you and I'm trusting you to do those jobs, wouldn't I trust you with this too? Like, your input in it? Because you're my professional. You're like my doctor,
mm.
for my plant.
No matter what that job is.
Whatever it is, whether it's shipping, material handling, anything. And so I think once I realized that, which I learned throughout this whole process,
Yeah.
then I appreciated them more. And then I think they appreciated me more because we were now communicating and truly
Yes.
communicating and listening to each other.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of weird.
It
But
is.
ERP, now that you said that, ERP really has brought us through a little journey.
And through a journey together,
Yeah.
right?
I didn't think
And
about
you're
it.
working as a team now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love all of them. They're like my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And employees stay with you for a long time?
Oh, yeah. So our last hire was probably 7 years ago, and our oldest employee has been there 47 years.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah.
And give us an idea of the size of the company.
So we have 10 employees.
Mhm.
And so we have, most of those are in the plant production. So we have a plant manager, quality, shipping. Like I said, we downsized during COVID. So COVID was another learning lesson. We learned that you can't do it all yourself anymore, and you need to have strategic partnerships,
Mhm.
and there's enough work for everyone.
Mm.
So we had a lot of women on our floor in the plant,
Okay.
and during COVID, there was no daycare. So we
Oh
ended
my
up going.
goodness, what an unexpected
Yeah.
blow.
So we ended up going from a 40,000 square foot plant to 14,000 square feet. And we're still making the same amount of product in a 14,000 square foot plant
How is that?
with 10 people instead of 22.
So
So
you
we
downsized.
learned.
Interesting. So you're still producing just as much product
Yep.
with fewer people and less
Yes.
space.
And a lot of that is because of strategic partnerships. So we moved to a smaller location. So that means we had to outsource. So you have to
Mhm.
trust. You got to have NDAs in place with your strategic partners. You have to trust them to do your parts. And it works out, I mean, it's no different than an outside service for heat treating or painting. So if you have a customer you've been stamping for 50 years,
Mhm.
and they bring you a part that needs 1,000-ton press, you're of course going to help your customer. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's helping the customer and finding their pain point and helping them. And that's what the ERP is about. Everything that we do in ERP is to help our customer
Mhm.
produce their part to make their customers happy. It's not about us.
Right.
So,
Right.
So ERP is big. It really is. I mean, yes, we like it because it makes our jobs easier, but ERP is big.
Yeah. Yeah. And gives you the power to make the decisions as a
100%.
business owner looking at the finances.
Yeah, now we just have to get CRM in there.
Well, some ERPs have CRM built into them.
Yes. So see, that's what I
So
mean. Technology,
it
it's
it
always
depends,
changing.
or they're integrated with CRMs as well.
Yeah.
But you're describing a tech stack or an ecosystem that runs your
Yes.
organization. And it's quite the opposite, it sounds like, of where you started, where everyone had their own computer. You talked about everything was siloed.
Yeah.
And then ERP seemed to be the tie that binds to bring
Yeah.
the team together. And then the next part of the tech stack, where we'll talk a little bit more about where that's heading, because
Yeah.
you and I have been talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
But before we go there, I do want to hear a little bit more about your M1. So now you've moved to M1,
We're in my track now.
my track. I'm
Yep.
sorry, I got
That's
lost
okay.
track
Yep.
there.
M1 was the second.
Okay.
We had so many. Yeah. So my track is great. So my track can be used for metal stamping or machining.
Okay.
It does the same thing. You build your routers and your bombs out in it. But whatever they use to communicate between the modules on the accounting side is more robust than other softwares that we've used in the past. So we don't have to export anything to QuickBooks or use another software for that. It's all, we use MyTrack completely and wholly.
Okay, it has accounting
Yeah.
in it.
hmm And it has a good, nice, robust quality in there as well. So you can upload your prints, you can upload your, inspection paperwork into it. It is a very good ERP system, for when we purchased it.
So you come from a finance perspective, which I think is great, because ultimately everything's going to wrap up to finance
100%.
and you're going to see all of that. I'm curious, is there transactional inventory accounting or in
Yeah.
that as
mhm.
well?
Yep. So it handles all of the movement of the material inside the system. Everybody scans in and out. We job cost. We can track everything down, and it works great.
So you know how many dollars you have in inventory and WIP
Oh,
and
yes.
finished
Yep.
goods at any given point, like
Exactly.
real time?
Real time. And what's nice is that at the end of the month, I make one in a month journal entry,
Okay.
which is great. A lot of them you have to do 5, 6 different journal entries for your month ends.
I see.
So yeah, so I really like it.
Is that the one that you ended up staying with?
Yes.
Okay. And so you've been in my track now for a while,
Yes, 7 years.
for 7 years now,
Mhm.
and that was a pretty big upgrade.
Yeah, for us it was because coming after we acquired the business and having, 22 people in the plant and 10 people in the office, you're like, oh, honey, they can do the work. Well, when you downsize and you buy it yourself and, you wanted it to do what it was supposed to be doing. I mean, that's the whole point.
Was that a driver when you had to downsize? Is that about the time you brought in my track?
Yes. hmm
So that was one of your drivers
Yeah.
for needing a new system. Is
Yeah.
you realized you couldn't do as much. You had fewer people, fewer resources.
Well, and also because when I'm purchasing something, I really want it to be as close to what I'm spending the money on. Like I learned the lesson with the old company that we went too fast. We bought it before we really knew, like, okay, there are some pitfalls in here. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? We went to Job Boss, which was great. Ultimately ran into some of the same issues, and really you're going to run into issues. It's not that you're not going to have issues. It's just how big are the issues? How painful are those pain points? Do you
So
want
it's
to
not
spend
all
time?
roses, we might say,
Right.
once you have
No,
ERP.
it's not.
Even the one that you like.
Yes, it still has issues, and it's going to. I mean, nothing is perfect out there. We're humans that build this stuff, and as industries change and grow, and as we change and grow, there's going to be things that aren't going to happen. That you're going to go, oh, you know what? We need to invent this because this would help with that. So, I think that's what happens over the course of time is it's not that they're not built exactly the way you want it. It's just that
Mhm.
their technology comes along, ideas come along, change comes along. And with that change, ERP changes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
Boy, talking about change, the rate of change right now,
I know, rapid.
it is so rapid.
hmm
And it's a good thing that, you've already have a mindset of embracing change.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been following the news and watching this whole thing with AI.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts right now on where things are going with this
I
and
am
with
like
ERP?
two sides of a coin. I mean, 1 minute I'm loving it
Yeah,
because of ERP.
right.
And on the other side, I love my employees and I
Mm.
want them to keep jobs. And I feel like I know everybody says AI is not going to take this job or jet. Eventually it will. And, for as long as we possibly can we keep people working?
Right.
So that's where I fall because I'm a small business owner,
Mhm.
But then I fall on the other side because I like AI because it makes my job and their jobs easier. So, it's hard because I know change is coming quickly.
Right.
And manufacturing needs to come back here. I mean, there's enough for everyone. The whole world can manufacture, but you do need to bring things back.
Mhm.
You still have the issue of bringing things over an ocean. You know what I mean? So it's like,
The ocean's still there?
yeah, it's still there so far. So, I mean, I get it. You're
Yeah.
always going to have, a world economy and things like that, but you do need to bring manufacturing back. But a lot of the small businesses are going away because the larger businesses can afford the AI. And so they'll come in.
Do you think, though, that AI might actually empower some of these small businesses as well if they embrace it so that they can stay around?
Well, small businesses embrace it. They can't afford it.
Mm.
That's our problem. So if we could get lending to free up for small manufacturers, and I know there's lots of grants out there, but I'm talking true funding. I think you'd see them embrace it more than they are now. They just simply can't afford it.
And when we say AI, we're talking automation, like machinery, robotics,
Right,
the
correct.
kinds of things that big companies are already doing.
Right. Like they're running their presses with robots. They've got inspection eyes and visually inspecting things with an eye, with AI. There's one person touching it. It's the shipping person when they're boxing it. So companies like that are second and third generation run companies that have, businesses in other countries on top of the United States. They have totally embraced that. They have the money to do that. It's the smaller shops, the 10, 12-man shops that don't get funding because they're not multi-million-dollar companies. They're not $25 million in sales, so there is no funding for that. So the small shops like us will eventually sell because if you don't sell, you'll just go away. So that's why ERP is really important for people like us because it's the one tool that you kind of have to have.
Yeah.
And it's the one tool that will keep you relevant until maybe somebody will come and buy you, merge with you, or,
Do you think that you can even give good data to a potential buyer if you don't have an ERP system? Or if you're using just QuickBooks?
Well, I think it would be more difficult because nothing's tying together. I mean, you're using a software for your, plant floor and you're using accounting in another system. I don't think they tie well. I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be good. It's just not going to be as accurate. I mean, that's the whole point of ERP.
Right.
Is, you're not duplicate entering, you're not exporting and importing. Mistakes happen. And so yeah, no, I think you without ERP, it would be more difficult to do. You can do it. It just would be a lot more work.
Right.
So yeah, I just think that ERPs are good for small mom and pop. That's the one thing we can afford to buy because they'll finance that for you. But like going into a bank and going, oh, okay, I'm a $3 million metal stamping company or a $10 million metal stamping company, and I want to put a robot in my plant, they're not going to lend you money for that.
Yeah.
You're not big enough. The return on investment isn't there.
Yeah.
If I'm a multi-million dollar
So this
company,
is an area that even a small company can afford to do.
Yeah.
And can optimize to the best of their ability with the technology that's available now.
Well, yeah, because ERP has also come around with financing options. Before, when it first came out, there was no finance. You bought it outright. It was $35,000. It was $25,000.
I see.
Now you can, finance that over 3 years. You can do it over 2 years so that it makes it more user-friendly for the small mom and pop
Did you
shops.
evaluate like service, ERP as a service on the cloud versus
Yeah,
on-premise?
I've used both.
You've used both. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I don't like the cloud.
And why?
I think it was just for me. I didn't like it.
Yeah, like the functionality, the cost.
Well, it was kind of the cost because I'm paying just as much for you to have it on your cloud, and I don't own it.
Yes.
When I have it on my server and I'm accessing it, and I've paid you for it, I own it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that kind of played into it for me, and if I have that backed up and I know they back up the cloud, but I just felt like it was tangible to me.
That you own the
Yeah,
data, you own the
yeah. Yeah,
software.
it wasn't somebody telling me, "Oh, you missed a payment on your cloud E2
Oh,
software,
sorry, we're turning it
and I'm
off.
gonna turn off your cloud, and now you have nothing," Nope. I have that on my server, it's mine, and for
Yeah.
me, I know data is not tangible, but that server sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of data being tangible, I'm curious, have you found that your customers accept everything being electronic today for
Oh,
their
yeah.
quality systems and for everything?
I feel they want it that way, and it's obviously faster delivery system. I
Yeah.
mean, everything's immediate. I think the only issue with everything being digital
Mhm.
is the hacking. I
Mm.
mean, you have people that are doing military work that now, like a subcontractor back in the day, didn't really need to have any firewalls on their stuff, but now they have that print. Now the
Right.
government is making sure that everybody has firewalls in place because if you get hacked, they have access to government information. So, I mean, I think that is going to change a lot of things, but
Okay.
digital's great. I mean, I love it. I'm paperless at our place.
Paperless. That
Yeah.
is absolutely amazing to me. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because I feel like so many small businesses, even mid-sized businesses, really struggle with what I call the paper chase.
Yeah.
And they sometimes justify the paper chase with the need for I have to have signatures on things or we have to see it on paper. Somehow
Mhm.
it's not real if it's not on
Yeah.
paper.
It's that tangible.
That tangible
Hmm.
piece. And
Yeah.
so how did you get to paperless and how did you bring everyone on board with this?
Well, I'm OCD, so I
Wow.
don't like clutter. So for me, walking into that that company that I worked for,
Yeah?
that was second generation, and they kept every piece of paper, like everything. So that 40,000 square feet was jam packed with stuff that we probably didn't even need. It was just
So
stuff.
this is when you first walked in. That
Yeah.
was the first thing you observed
Yes.
and you stayed around
And
even though you
well,
were
because
OCD?
I told him I was going to start cleaning. I was going to start cleaning things. So then we got to where we were taking all the big, the big blueprints
Yeah?
to FedEx and having them put them on little flash drives. So we would have them. And then when the technology, you could put it inside the system and now it's a little PDF, you know what I mean? So we went from that.
Mhm.
And the only paper we use is on our floor. And that's just to go from a different process. And like, so if we have two presses that are running a piece, they need to know how many pieces are in that they're running
Okay.
for when they start on the next. That's it. Everything else is
Like one sheet of
digital.
paper, two sheets of
Yeah,
paper?
one piece of paper with their barcode on it. They scan it. They know how many pieces they got from the last operation.
Okay.
That piece of paper follows them to the very end.
I see.
Shipping gives me that, and I know my job is closed now.
And that's
That's it.
it. What about the prints? How do they see their prints?
That's all PDF. It's all
So do they have
uploaded on our.
do they have computers on the
They
floor?
have a computer that they can get their print from, but they
Mhm.
don't really need the print because we have inside their system all of their inspection paperwork. They can review all of that because they have to inspect while it's running.
Okay.
So that's a piece of paper they have to have because you have to write down you're inspecting it maybe every 5,000 pieces. So if you're doing a 200,000 piece run,
Mhm.
every 500 pieces you're checking a piece. They have to write that data somewhere. Then that gets digitally, we scan that in and it goes into that job.
I see.
So like all the AP everything's paperless, everything. So we get our invoices, in email.
Mhm.
If it comes in the mail, it gets scanned in, it gets renamed and put in the system. So it's all part of kind of like the ISO system that we use and the accounting's outside of
Did
that.
you have
But
to rewrite ISO every time you went to a new ERP?
I did not. I had nothing to do with the ISO. Not really, because you're basically doing the same. ISO is you're doing what you're telling your customers you're doing.
Okay.
So that system falls outside of an ERP system. We implement into the ERP our ISO by bringing the quality in.
I
So as
see.
soon as you're uploading your print and your inspection papers and things like
Mhm.
your final inspection, whatever your PPAPs, that's us implementing our ISO into the ERP, but it's not part of our ISO.
Okay. But you don't have to change your ISO
No. Mm-mm.
when you do this.
Right. If you're doing like a major change on, how you're going to build a job,
Yeah.
that would affect my ISO because I'm telling my customer, this is how I do it, but on this one job, I'm going to do it a different, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that would change it, but no, not in the ERP system.
All right. All right. Very good. Very good. Wow. So what a journey, man. How many ERPs?
5 total. And that's not
Five.
how many we looked at. I mean, that's just, like that's where you've narrowed it down. I've used 5.
You've used five
Well,
different
because you had
ones.
QuickBooks, so I consider that, like one of the
Yeah,
softwares
it
because you got
probably
your
thinks it probably thinks it's an ERP.
It
There
probably
is an
does.
inventory tab in
There
QuickBooks. I mean,
is,
why doesn't that do everything that you need? It
because
does
that's
say
not set up for
inventory.
manufacturing. That's not set up for manufacturing. That's more retail,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're not, it's coming from inventory and being sold. We're moving it from inventory going into WIP, going to outside services, coming back in, being received. You know what I mean? There's a process with the manufacturing side that QuickBooks
Do you
is
still
not even
think
close
that
to.
spreadsheets play a major role in running a business or collecting data even today?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people use spreadsheets to vet things. I think people who are using ERP softwares that don't have proper functioning accounting in them are using spreadsheets.
Proper functioning accounting.
I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I don't mean to slam anything. It's just not. It doesn't work the way it should work,
Mhm.
I honestly believe a lot of people do that. And a lot of people just like to have spreadsheets. It's their friend. They don't like change.
So, what's the risk you would say to a company who wants to grow? They're using QuickBooks right now, and they're afraid of this investment and this change. I mean, what's the risk of going?
Well, the risk is you're not going to grow. I mean, you can't grow your company when you're inhibiting the softwares you're using to grow it. QuickBooks is not really designed for large companies. It's just not. It's maybe mid-size to small size. And if your plan is to grow your business, to grow it, you need to have everything working in tandem together. You need your inventory working, you need your routers working, your labor costing working, your accounting working. And, having to export that and import that and making sure the data came through, that is a huge waste of time. There's no way you're going to grow.
Mm,
I mean, unless you're going to hire just somebody to do that, which to me kind of defeats the purpose.
right, right, right. Unless you're just going to hire another person to
Right.
input things into spreadsheets.
Right, exactly. So I think most people know you have to spend money to make money. In this sense, to spend money would be a good investment in ERP because it frees up a small business owner's time after it's implemented.
Mhm.
Which isn't that what it's all about? The owners, the salespeople, the people working their time.
Right.
The more time you can free up for them, the more business you can bring in, the more you can be out there bringing in more business. So to me, I think it's probably one of the best investments you'll do in owning your business is owning an ERP system.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, that's really great to hear. And you certainly have the experience to speak from on this. I
Thanks.
love your story and
Thanks.
the fact that you're willing to adapt, embrace change, bring all your employees along with that. And then the fact that you survived COVID.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
was
goodness.
tough.
That is just awesome. You not only survived it, but you've turned it around since then. You're growing again today, expanding the business.
Yeah.
And so, and you remade yourself.
You have to, I'm really excited and scared at the same time of what's coming next because technology is going at warp speed.
Yes.
And I think we're going to start seeing a lot more change in manufacturing. And I'm excited to see what it is, but I'm also afraid because, like I said, I'm a people person. So I want the people, but I also want the technology. So I'm like, I'm torn. So I am excited to see what's going to be next because it's coming.
Maybe we're going to make a lot more robots.
Probably. That would
Right?
probably be the next thing.
Maybe there are going to be a lot more physical devices in our environment, right?
There probably will
that we
be.
need, and if it's physical, then it's got to be built some way.
Yeah, it really does. And we are going to see that coming, and it's coming whether we like it or not. So those small businesses that are out there
Yeah.
that are afraid to buy an ERP system, don't be.
Yeah.
Because you need to.
Yeah.
If you're going to go anywhere in the future, you need to have it. And that is what's going to grow you to the next step and hopefully the next step.
Yeah, you're so right. And the ERP companies are innovating as quickly as they can right now, too. They're embracing AI and finding ways to do things like scan documents like purchase orders and shipping documents and sales orders and
Yeah.
automatically put them into the system. Basically, they're trying to use it to enable everyone to do more work with less resources
Right,
at the
right.
end of the day.
They're
So,
using the things that the Honeywells and GEs were using in EDI a while ago, but they couldn't afford.
oh yeah,
Now that's like something that's everybody can do it.
yeah.
And so now, and it's good that the ERP is really doing more innovation because they're learning what we've learned.
Hmm.
Okay, there's some pain points here. We need to really address these pain points. And I think the more and more we go down the road, you're going to see things improved tenfold, 100%,
Yes, yes.
so
And be able to continue to grow. It's funny, you're talking about stamping. In my head, I just saw robots with like stamped parts all
yeah,
over them.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
going to have a lot of stamped pieces and
100%. They're
machine
going to be making
things.
themselves. Pretty scary thought, isn't it?
They are. But at some point,
Yeah.
that, as humans, we're deciding how much we want to interact with those things too.
Well, and it does call into question like world powers too at that point then when you think about it, because if everybody's using AI and everybody's doing that, so then the price becomes pretty set, right? So if everybody's using AI and everybody's using robots, the costing really becomes flat. So what do we look at as a world then with the world that's going to change? And it will change.
Yeah.
So is it the people who know the most about AI? I mean, where does that come into? Because honestly, that's really what it comes down to. Pricing will even out. I mean, there's not going to be, oh, this person quoted me that and it's going to be the same because you're all using robots. You're all using AI. So what does that look like?
I know. We're
One
all
big
just,
company, one big, I don't know.
we're all trying to wrap our heads
Yeah.
around that. But in the meantime, there seems like, we still have plenty of opportunity here in the
Oh,
United
yes.
States, plenty of things that we're able to make and use the systems
Yeah. I'm
to
so
do that
grateful.
more efficiently. And the price points for getting ERP and for doing data flow well are at a reasonable level where anyone can do this if
Yep.
they're willing to embrace the change and properly go through an ERP selection process. I learned a lot today, that I think a lot of small companies they're really going to benefit from your experience, especially the thinking through of the pain points involving the team,
Yep.
the fact that you really can go paperless. And it is about finance at the
Yeah.
end of the
It
day.
really
We have to
is.
get it to the
Yep.
top. And you've also really helped everyone understand that you can use ERP to your advantage to build that company culture, which is really the purpose of why we go to work.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
It's
And
the bigger picture.
ERPs are starting to work with other things like we were talking about with the CRM.
Mhm.
Customer relations management is like, hey, I want to be reminded,
Quoting programs. We mentioned
100,
paperless
yep,
parts earlier
paperless parts,
today.
yep.
So there are some companies that have done their own AI portions of the system that are now getting plugged into the ERP
Right, which is
systems.
great. So everybody's working together. I mean, it's going to become like a standard operating procedure, really.
Yeah.
This whole thing is going to be so streamlined and down that, it's if you don't have it, you're not going to survive. I mean, you're really
It-
not. I mean, when you think about it.
That
How are you
is
going to survive in a world of technology?
that is so
Like, I
true.
mean, I know we're in technology now, but you know what I mean, as it's coming at warp speed.
Yes, as it's coming at warp speed.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to have to keep educating, evolving, improving,
Yeah.
and not allow these things not get buried in our own little holes of
Yes.
or in our own silos. We have
Yep.
to continue these types of conversations. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
joining me today. This has just been a fantastic conversation.
Well, I really appreciate you asking me because you know me. I love talking about manufacturing. I'm so grateful that it's coming back to America. I wish we could get more. Yay.
Yes.
I love what we do, and I'm just grateful that you asked me to be on here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see what the future brings, but this is the beginning of a series
It's-
and we're going to keep talking.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Conversations like the one we just had with Cheryl highlight the real story of ERP. It's not the polished sales pitch. It's the challenges, the trial, the error, the lessons learned on the floor. That's exactly why I'm here to help manufacturers get ERP ready. My goal is to cut through the noise, ask the tough questions, and make sure owners have the clarity they need before making one of the biggest investments in their business. Every month, I'll be bringing in leaders, operators, and experts who aren't afraid to share what really happens when you take on ERP. Together, we'll build a library of honest insights that manufacturers can rely on. Whether you're planning for ERP now or preparing for the future, I'm Rose of Sharon, and this is the place for straight talk on how to make your shop flow.